think we got it this time. Alright, so welcome again. Tonight we are starting something a little different. There's a whole series of like short sutras and little chants and poems and things that I use in my own practice, and many of them I've memorized, many of them I'd like to have memorized, so we're working on that. I've put them together in a little PDF, which you can find a link to that in a couple of places on the website, so Reclay's website. So those of you at home can easily go there and read what we're about to go through. Apologies, I meant to print it out here. Fortunately, this is very short, so you don't need it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read it through, or go through it once, and then I'll go through it again, talking about it as we go through it. So it's a short passage by Patrul Rinpoche called Advice from Me to Myself. Listen up, old bad karma Gareth, you dweller in distraction. For ages now, you've been entranced, beguiled, and fooled by appearances. Are you aware of that? Are you? Right this very instant, when you're under the spell of mistaken perception, you've got to watch out. Don't let yourself get carried away by this fake and empty life. Your mind is spinning around about carrying out a lot of useless projects. It's a waste. Give it up. Thinking about the 100 plans you want to accomplish with never enough time to finish them just weighs down the mind. You're completely distracted by all these projects which never come to an end but keep spreading out like ripples in water. Don't be a fool. For once, just sit tight. If you let go of everything, that's the real point. It's one of my absolute favorites, so I just keep on coming back to it and back to it. So Patrul Rinpoche, he was one of the great 19th century Tibetan masters. He was in the Nyingma tradition, which is actually the oldest of the 4 Tibetan lineages. There's a hierarchy even within Tibetan lineages of the Madhyamaka and Svatrantika, and I think the Madhyamaka is generally held to be the higher one and the more non-dual. And anyway, but he's in that Nyingma, which is the tradition that I actually have when I've read the works. The one that I have the greatest affinity for is the Dalai Lama is the Gelugpa tradition, for what it's worth. Advice from me to myself. There's a nice little play going on here. Who's me? Who's myself? At the superficial level, it's just telling myself what to do. But at a deeper level, who really is me in this? Who's giving me advice? I mean, there's a play going on here. So I'm actually going to read something else which I came across earlier today when I was thinking about this, which is the essence of Patrul Rinpoche's teachings. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just to give you an idea. Use the time of your life, develop your inner happiness, recognize the impermanence of all outer pleasures, live as a yogi, do your spiritual practices, work as a bodhisattva for a happy world, become an Amitabha, a Buddha of love and light, turn your world into the paradise Sukhavati, which is the Pure Land of Amitabha Buddha. So I mean, he's just such a wonderful, compassionate, happiness-oriented guy. Listen up, old bad karma Gareth. Old bad karma. Old, this is karma that's been around for a long while. That's what it's pointed at. This here is just karma. There's some intention here that creates a Gareth out of this and thinks there's a thing here, but really, this is karma rolling forward. And this karma has a choice right now. This Gareth that shows up has a choice right now what to do with that, what decisions to make now, and that is my present karma. But this is a sack of old karma. There's 4 types of karma, right? Black, white, black and white. Not non-karma. Good, bad, both good and bad, and then no karma. All karma really perpetuates samsara, good or bad. Listen up, old bad karma, you karma Gareth, you dweller in distraction. Pay attention. Pay attention. Constantly not paying attention. For ages now, it's that same, how many lifetimes is he talking about? For ages now, you've been beguiled, entranced, and fooled by appearances. There's a theme that comes up a couple times in here, which is this idea of appearances, beguiled, spells. The Tibetan tradition spends a lot of time looking at dream and sleep yoga. The idea being that's an illusory world. It's clearly illusory. If we can be present and aware when that's going on, we can see through that illusion. And we can actually practice within that illusion. But to see through that illusion is to give us tools to help us see through this illusion, because this too is an illusion. It's illusory. The word is illusory form. It's an illusory form practice. It's not what we think it is. We construct, just as we do in our heads when we dream, we construct subject and object and have a subjective dream experience. It's all here. What on earth is that? How does that even happen? But in reality, that's also what is going on right now. All of us, by thinking we're a me, all of us are creating an illusory subject and object. We're creating a separation and forming these illusory subject and object. Wave the magic wand. Where's the magician? Beguiled, entranced, and fooled by appearances. Are you aware of that? Pay attention. Are you aware of that? Right this very instant, when you're under the spell of mistaken perception, so these are the 5 aggregates of clinging, right? Form, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness. Perception is between feeling, which is that first positive, negative, neutral, and formation, where there's enough there for us to act on. There's a registering, a recognition, a labeling. Perception is where we start to see shapes, we start to see objects, we start to construct things. All illusory. Not pretending there's nothing there, but it's not what we think it is. These forms, these shapes, all illusory. Under the spell of mistaken perception, you've got to watch out. Don't let yourself get carried away by this fake and empty life. A life which is a story that's made up of all these illusory perceptions. Your mind is spinning around about carrying out a lot of useless projects. He says projects, then he calls them plans, and then he comes back and calls them projects again. So this is kind of a big deal. And Beth and I have started talking about this. I don't know if you know this, where I'm coming from when I start talking of plans and projects and quitting projects. So if I look at my life, I keep bees. It's kind of cool, but it's a project. You start doing it, you've got to deal with them. You've got to go split the hives. And then there's not enough equipment, you've got to get more equipment, and then you've got to paint it. And then you can't do something else because it's interfering with how you want to run the bees, so that it interferes with how you deal with the chickens or the garden. All these projects. Painting the house. Shakespeare's a project. That was something my dad did. He liked Shakespeare, so I brought back a bunch of books and videos, and I've been studying Shakespeare. That becomes a project. Oh, I like watching these videos. There's a whole set over here. Let me go watch those too. So maybe I'll buy all those, and then this, I really like the way this author's writing about this. Let me find out some more about that. Ooh, he's drawing on stories out of Ovid. I need to go read some Ovid. And I need the Metamorphoses, that is the translation from the 16th century, which is what Shakespeare used. And this play is derived from Chaucer, so now let me go read the Canterbury Tales, which means I have to kind of learn a new language, right? All these useless projects. It's a waste. Give it up. If I look at my life, I have so many projects. So many projects. And I've got to give some of them up. And I'm not going to give all of them up. This actually goes back, though, to it goes back to karma again. Because to give up a project by just abandoning it, we can't just abandon it. Chickens, that's a project. We've got a coop in our garden with 6 chickens and a rooster, and in the Airbnb, which is like half a mile away, we've got another 11 chickens and a rooster. I can't just give that up. I've made a commitment to those chickens to look after them. So I can't just say, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. That's to go back and create more negative karma. I've got to let that run its course and let this have its role, its natural role, and letting that run its course. But what I can do is not buy any more chicks, not let them sit on and brood these fertilized eggs and have more chicks on their own, right? Similarly, the bees. I've got to be responsible for the bees I've got. I can't just completely abandon them and just kind of let them all waste away. I can't pour gasoline on them. I've got to do my reasonable best with them. But I can say when they're done, I'm not going to go get any more. So, carrying out a lot of useless projects, it's a waste. Give it up. Thinking about the 100 plans you want to accomplish with never enough time to finish them. There just isn't, is there? Particularly if we look at these plans, it's just never enough time because they're really non-ending. It just weighs down the mind. And it does. If you look at what all our plans do, all these things we're trying to do, they're just baggage. They're in the way. They're just constantly creating stories, creating mental activity. You're completely distracted by all of these projects. Distracted from who you really are. Distracted from being really here. Really present with the reality of life. You're completely distracted by all of these projects which never come to an end but keep spreading out like ripples in water. Ripples in water. This is papancha in the Pali Canon, right? This is all the other stuff that shows up. It's like that Shakespeare story I told you. So there's Ovid, and then there's Chaucer, and then there's Bloom who's talking about it, and Bloom lists a whole bunch of other authors in the canon. So then we go to Dante and so on, right? It just keeps on spreading like ripples in water. Don't be a fool, Gareth. Don't be a fool. For once, just sit tight. That's sitting tight. If we sit and we settle and we pay attention, and many of you have heard me talk about this before, but what happens if we look at what's going on at the sense gates? The senses are apparatus that receives input. So right now I look around the room and I'm receiving visual input. And I have a choice of how I respond to that input, what I do with it when it comes in, what kind of images I form, what kind of stories are created. But those sensory gates are also places that I run out of. So if somebody smiles, somebody cracks a joke, I rush out to that. And you can feel the energy of going out. The leaf blower is one of my favorites, right? The leaf blower's over there making a noise. It's not doing anybody any harm. It's just the leaf blower. The problem really happens when I go out to meet the leaf blower. Who's doing that? Why are they doing that now? It's a weekend. Which yard are they in? Is that 2 or 3 leaf blowers? When are they going to stop? I'm rushing out. And you can feel that energy of going out. Just sit tight. If you let go of everything, 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 that third everything is everything. It's this, it's all the projects, it's the project even of creating a me. Let go of everything. That's the real point. Absolutely one of my favorites. So I will stop there.